So right now we're gonna render our single product page. If you click here, you can see we are now going here with a single product page with a particular Slack properties. So now we need to grab the Slack first. So let's go in our product Slack and here. So how we can grab that one? And by the way, we're gonna keep our single product. So as you see here, if we just if we go in the home and if we go in a single product, this entire things is loading from the server side, not client side. Okay, so the loader, as you see, which is the loading effect is going on, that's actually the global loader. Okay, so right now how we can grab that? We're gonna call the product in server side. We're gonna render everything within the server side properties. So first thing first, we need to grab the props, like grab the Slack. And how we can grab that? First, we're gonna make it as a async property, and then we're gonna go and create our params. So it should be params. And for the params, how we can render in our Next.js 15, you can make that like you can grab the params from the promise. So it should be a promise, and in that promise, within that property layer here, we need to grab that Slack, which will be Slack, and it will be passing as a string properties, and I think it will work. And if it's not work, we will see how we can render. So we are passing the promise. Now if we make that const Slack, now on the params that Slack is there, so we'll await, and then we're gonna pass that params. Okay, now if we make the console.log, we should be able to see the Slack property. And as it's still in the server side, we should be able to see in the server, as you see that okay, that Slack property is right here. And also if we just go and click the inspector in the client side, we should be able to see the server athletic main shop. So if we just remove it, go back to the home, and we'll try another product. You see the man's bamboo t-shirts, so crew neck is rendering. So now we are having our Slack properties. So with that Slack, we will render the product. So now to create a product, we need to also create a query. And where are we going to create the query? You see over here in the Sanity, where we have our leaf file here, it's like all the properties is there. So in the Sanity, we can create a helper folder or create a helper function here. So it will be helpers. On the helpers, we can just make that. First, we're going to create one like query, or you can just grab it index.ts. It's up to you. You can go with the query, like in the helpers, we'll just make that query.ts. So here, queries, queries.ts. Here we're going to create all our queries instantly. Okay, so the first query we will render here, it will be generating the product as Slack. So export, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. So export const get product by Slack, and here it will be a synchronous function, as we're going to talk to the database. And here as a params, we're gonna take the property of Slack, which will be string. So as we're getting the products by Slack, we need to pass the Slack to that, then we're gonna get that. So also you're gonna pass the value here, like the query value. It will be like, let's passing a query, should be product underscore by underscore let's say Slack underscore query. Okay, that's the query we're gonna name. And here we're gonna pass to make that the defined query. So define query here, and on that parameter it will go by backtick here. First we're gonna pass our star mark, and then the third bracket and underscore. First it will go is the type should be is equal to, remember the type, it should be the product type, so product. And after passing the product type, we will pass the n value, the Slack dot current, and that current should be the current, and that one should be the Slack which we are passing as the value of that like as the profs value which you're passing the Slack. So that should be the initial value for that. So right now we're gonna just go render on the Slack, so that will be in that property. So Slack.current, it will get the particular Slack, and also we're gonna make that one as like order, and it will be that name and ASC. And first of all, the zero query, the first one, will get that as a value. So that's our query here. So after getting the query, we're gonna make a try catch value, and on the catch we're gonna make that console.error, and on the error we're gonna make that error fetching product by Slack. So that's the way we can just know from where the error is coming. Now if there is no error is coming, means we're gonna grab a product here, and if we're having the product, then we're gonna just make that const product is equal to await. And now this time we're gonna use that sanity fetch, which is coming from the leave function here. If we just go in the sanity fetch, you see it just concate the defined live. We are passing that we are passing the client and other properties. So right now, instead of that client with config, we're gonna render it in a pretty defined way. So right now, as you see, we should be providing one API token by which we can pass the value. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to our friend of here, Sanity IO, and within the manage app, we're gonna render two properties, like two values should be passing from there, which will be like one should be the Sanity public API key and another should be Sanity API read token. So that's our Toulouse YT. And from the API, we need to create one API. It's very simple to create. You see the add API here, and you just need to pass the number. So I'm gonna make that as a developer API, like the developer. So here, if you click on the save, I will give one the developer read and write access to all datasets. So here what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna go grab in my env file, .env file here, and here in the env file I am going to pass these two value, which will be one Sanity dataset, and after that should be Sanity API token. And here I'm going to render the API token, and after that also I'm going to make API read token. Okay, so like that, I'm going to pass that one here. So I got my developer token, and now I'm going to create another token, which will be like, let's say the viewer token, or yeah, just keep the same name. So here, this one I'm going to let you see because that's just a simple viewer token. So the same developer token, it will be creating like that. I'm going to copy this one here, and then I'm going to pass that as API read token and hit save, and I'm going to close this. So now I have my two token initially here in my application layer. So now I can combine that, and let's see what we are actually going to do. So first thing first, I'm going to grab the token. So const token is equal to should be process.env, and here I'm gonna pass the read token. So that's the token which I'm gonna use to just grab the property value here. So that will be my token. So if we have no token available, then I will just throw an error. So should be throw new error, and here it will be say missing Sanity API read token. Now if I have the token, and from the defined live properties, instead of this value here, I will define my own value. For the client, I'm gonna just directly passing the client properties which we have already initialized. So the client by itself, it should be the client from the client, and then also for the server token, it should be getting our token, and for our browser token, it also going to get our token. And then for the fetch options here, for right now, we will make that revalidation as 0. So whenever we're gonna change in our API from the server side, we will instantly get the product by itself. So it will render pretty much quickly. So now as we are having that Sanity fetch value right here, so we can now go and pass the properties here, and that value going to define two properties. First, we're gonna just go an object property. We're gonna pass the query, which the query should be product by slag, and also we will pass the params. In the params, we're gonna pass the slag which we are generating. Now if everything okay, we should be able to get one product, right? And we're gonna return the product force.data, or if it's nothing there, we're gonna just provide a null value. So if the product is there, okay, you can pass the null value or empty object. Right now, if we see here in the product data, as you see right now, the property is any. We're gonna define the types also, but right now let's go in the page and see if we can happen to be grab one product. So now const product is equal to should be await, and now get product by slag. Here we're gonna pass our slag, and also we're gonna make a log in the console which will generate our product. Hit save, and after compiling, I think we should be able to see one product. As you see, the product is rendered perfectly, and also we're gonna make that, we're gonna run our type gen to npm run type gen to just generate the type files for our product data. Now, first of all, if the product data is not available, like in this particular page here, if we doesn't have the product, what we can do? So right now, if there is no product, then we can just simply pass that return. Return should be not found, and that should be passing from next navigation. That's it. No product, it will just go in defined way. As you see, the queries pass the query, and also if we go in the queries here, if we just hover over it, you see the product by Slack query results. So we also having the ID properties. So right now, what we're gonna do here, we're gonna create this one in a very defined manner. First thing first, in this ratio, we're gonna have two properties, like two particular div, right? One should be like say left, and another layer should be right. So these two values should be here. In the left, if you just see closely, we have the image. In the right, we have the other product ratio. So now let's go and like prepare that. So on that instant over here, that would be rendered. Now first of all, okay, that would be rendered if we have the product image, like if we have the product.images, and we're gonna render this property. So right now, instead of that, we're gonna create an image view. Remember, this one, it should be our server side, but once we click on that image, that click event should be rendered in a client side property. So that's what we are going to making right now. So here, if we go in the components, and that should be like say image view.tsx array-fce. So now we're gonna render our image properties right here. So in a simple way, instead of the div here, no need to render any div anymore. So image view, and here we're gonna pass the images value. Images should be product.images. And let's go in our image view, and here we're gonna render how we can showcase our product data. So in that images property, if we go over here, let's say interface, and we can pass the props properties here, and here we're gonna pass the images. And if we have images, now let's go sanity types here, and we can see how the images is rendering. So we have like categories, and you see the images. So that's the entire things we're gonna render. Okay, so if we have images as a props, we can just pass that. That would be the images property, and also we need to import those things. Okay, I think others need to be worked properly. Why sanity hotspot? I think we need to import that, otherwise it will not work properly. Yeah, and group. Okay, so that's the props which we are going to define here. So what we're gonna do, I think that should be one layer top of that. So let's just take it outside, and here we will pass the images property here. So it should be images. So now it can be is equal to an array. You know, it will be rendered as it can be images or can be an empty array. So till it will wait till the images is loading. So right now we're gonna render the images, but before that, you remember we're gonna make a clickable event here. So I'm gonna just make it globally as a use client flag. So my entire, like, I'm not making my entire single page as a client side. I'm just making that image view property, that component, as a client side. So over here, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna render my client side value here. So also I'm gonna grab that two properties here, should be import. It will be, let's say, motion, and that would be from motion react. And after the motion also, I'm gonna grab that animate presence. Okay, so right now what I'm gonna do, after that div layer, I'm gonna generate my animate presence here on that animate patient animate presence. I'm gonna render that motion.div, which will contain my image property. So on that image we're gonna pass the source, which will be, let's say, source. So the first image going to be as the active image, so I'm going to render the active image with the value const it should be active and set active and use state. First it gonna get that images and it will just grab the first image as the images property. So in the source should be that, let's say it will be providing that active image. So in the source should be url4, and on the url4 it's gonna pass the active image and then it's gonna grab the URL. And also it will be alternative tag should be, let's say it will be product image, and also passing the weight should that why is not, I think did we import the image? Maybe not import. Yeah, we forget to import it. Image. And the weight, I'm going to provide a weight of 700 and maximum height ratio of 700. And also I'm going to provide a priority here because that's the image I want to showcase at the first instant. Save. So now we should be able to see one image here. You see it's pretty big image, but we're gonna make it looks perfect and better. So first thing first, we're gonna render in a pretty well property. So the by default width will be full. MD width should be 1/2, means the half. Space Y should be 2, but MD space Y should be 4. And within that animate presence, I'm gonna just make the mode, which will be white mode. So as you see, the effect going to be happen once we click any image, you see it's fading away and fading in properly. So that's the white mode which we're going to create. So right now, also here, we're gonna put a class name on that property layer. So the class name, it should be, it will take the full width, and max height, we're gonna define it should be, let's say 550 pixel, and also mean height also it gonna be of like 450 pixels. So 450 to 550 it will be all together. Border, and border should be dark color with a 10% of opacity, rounded MD. I'm gonna make it a group, and the overflow should be hidden. So right now we are having this image, but no worries, we're gonna make it looks better. But before doing initially, we can also make that one looks a little bit in a cool way. Class name, we're gonna make it a padding Y should be 10 and should be flex should be column, and MD flex should be row. And also I'm gonna put a gap of 10. I think gap of 10. So right now it will be side by side. I think okay, I may be providing in a wrong position, not here, but I think we no need to align the div anymore because we are doing everything in our container. Also in the right proportion, we can also define the class name here. So width should be full, MD width should be 1/2, and also flex column, and I'm going to put a gap of 5 for the right side. So now this side need to be worked pretty defined way. How we can do that? So to generate the other property, remember we have the class name which we have been keeping here for our images. Now in the image, put a class name which should be full, and I'm going to provide the same property here because as the image go by, you need to be keep that, otherwise the image ratio it will not match. Okay, so I'm gonna just make that. Okay, I think with full height I will make that 96 as far as I concern, and the max height I'm gonna provide a 550 pixel, and the mean height I'm gonna make it as let's say 500 pixel. Okay, and the object should be contained, and then also once I hover on the group hover should be scale should be 110. We're gonna pass the hover effect properties, and also rounded should be empty. So right now it should be something here as you see. Okay, cool, that's the same property, you see, same ratio is coming. If we go in other image here, come back with that. Okay, I think the similar ratio here, it can be, you know, can be differentiated. It's up to you, the way you make it feel better. It will be the similar way. It's your choice. So right now I think it's pretty cool. So after that we need to render the latter image. So after that animate presence, we will another will render, and here it will be images.map, and everything I'm gonna take an image property, and here in the image I'm gonna render a button, okay, which will be having my image property. And in the image on the button I'm gonna put a key, should be image dot, let's say okay, it's not passing that key. Okay, why it's not coming? So images, we are mapping through our images. Now everything we are passing, oh sorry, how it will come, we are giving the name of image but calling it as an item. So image dot underscore key, and here in the image we will also pass the source, which will be url4, and on the url4 should be image, and then we'll pass that, get me the URL, and here also put an alt tag, should be product image, and this one I'm gonna take a width 100, height of 100, okay. And for the class name I'm gonna make it width of full, and height should be auto, and object should be content. Why I'm giving the full width height, you're gonna see, because I'm gonna combine this one here. So in that top layer of the div, let's put a class name. I'm gonna make it a grid columns of 6, and I'm gonna put a gap of 2, height should be maximum of, let's say 20, and MD height should be 28. Oh, it's too much, 278, 28. So right now as you see, that effect is happening, but the image is not so good, so we need to keep in a proper ratio. So here in the button we're gonna keep that one in proper ratio. So right now let's say, okay, did we miss anything? We're gonna put grid columns which are 6, gap 2, height 20, MD height 28. And for the button, put a class name. We will render first in the backtick, which will go in a border, and rounded should be MD, overflow should be hidden, and here we're gonna render that one if the active underscore key is equal to that our normal should be image dot key. If it's match, then we're gonna put something, otherwise you're gonna put something. If not match, it will be empty. If match, it will be, let's say ring should be 1, ring should be 1, and also ring should be dark color. So right now we are happen to be capturing that, you see. So right now once we click that particular image, that ratio should be changed. So we're gonna click on that button. So the on click, we're gonna just simply make that set active, and we're gonna pass the image to be making that as active image. So right now if you go here, click on that, you see, and the changes, how very not coming abruptly, but it's not also providing the motion. Why? Because you see the motion div, we didn't provide any value here. So if we provide the value, it will render perfectly. So first thing first, in the initial, we're gonna render that initially, which the opacity should be 0, and after once it animates, on animate, it should be, let's say opacity should be 1, and also I'm gonna make in the exit should be, let's say opacity going to be 0 again, and also I'm gonna make the transition, and here I'm gonna pass the duration, which will be 0.5. so 5 millisecond duration will be there. So every time we change the image, you see, I'm gonna make a reload here because it will not affect alternatively so far. Okay, click. Is it working? Or okay, I'm gonna go render another one. I think it's not rendering the way I am looking for. See here, you see the fading effect is rendering perfectly, but here it's not giving me that gig. It's because we changed the motion property, motion react. Okay, let me see one more time. In the animate presence, we are making the mode as weight. In the motion deep, opacity is 0, initial animate is 1, and here in exit mode we're gonna make opacity 0 again, and the transition duration of 0.5 should work. Okay, I'm gonna reload again. Let's see. It's okay. We are not, yeah, we should reload this one here. If we come back here, we need to see where we are. Are we missing any key property value here? I don't think so. But why is not working? If we just check one more time, this is the entire value, right? Okay, okay. I think we missed something. What's the things we missed? Yeah, we missed something, which is that, let me just go through one more time. I think what I missed is to provide the key. Yeah, that's the key will be responsible to generate, like which key it will be make that effect. So the active one make the effect. Yeah, right now I think, yeah, active one. Okay, yeah, that's now working perfectly good. Okay, so that's so far we are having this side. Also, if we go in the smaller screen, I think it should be aligning properly. You see, that's making a lot of sense. So right now, as we are having those properties down, it's time to generate our other property, which will be that the bottom one, the right side properties. And to just keep aligned on the right side, it's also going to be a simple ratio. You may know how we're gonna do that. So first, in that right side, we're gonna make a div. Within that div, we're gonna pass another div, then a p tag here. First, not a p tag, we're gonna make an h2 tag here. First, we're gonna render our product dot name. So the name, it will be rendered the first time. Now here at the div, put a class name. I think we're not gonna go in the class name. I'm gonna go in a simple way. Put a class name here, text 4XL, and font should be bold. Margin bottom should be 2. So that's our fantastic property. And also for the smaller screen, you can go with that MD. For this one, you can go with that text 3XL or 2XL by so far the way you make it better to go in the responsive so far. So after h2 tag, we're gonna also go and price view section, price view, and in that price view we're gonna pass two properties, which will be price, and then price should be product.price, and also for the discount, which will be product.discount, and for the class name, text should be LG and font should be bold. So that's what we're gonna do it. So here, as you see, that's coming like that. So that's the similar effect going to be, and it happened to be done. Now after that div, we're gonna also have a stock button here, which will be forecasting is available or not. If the product dot stock is available, and we're gonna render a p tag, just a why is coming a params, a p tag which will be in stock. And for the in stock button, we will also pass some class name, and here we're gonna use the backtick properties again. I think no need backticks, we can just simply go there. BJ should be green of 100, width should be 24, text should be center, and after that text should be green of 600, small text, padding y should be 2.5, and font should be semi bold, rounded should be, let's say rounded should be LG. So that's the in stock button which we are rendering. And after the in stock button, we're gonna render another p tag which will be forecasting to say product dot description. So okay, should be description property, and in the description you're gonna put a class name. Text should be small text, text should be gray of 600, and tracking should be white. And you may astonish from where the gap is coming. Remember, at the top layer we are providing the gap of 5. That's the ratio which is just creating that gap over here. So as you see, that's the similar effect which we have been created before. So right now, after that properties, as you see, we are passing the description. Then after that p tag, we're gonna render another div here. We're gonna make that add to cart button, and in the add to cart button, we're gonna pass the product as our own product. And after passing the product, also we're gonna pass the class name because we want to render a different way. So the bj should be dark color with an 80% opacity, and text should be white, and also hover bj should be dark color. We're gonna pass that hover effects. So now you see, cool. And after that, we will make another button. In the button, we're gonna render one heart icon, heart. And for the heart, let's just grab one class name with 5 and height also 5. Now for the heart icon, we're gonna make a class name. Border should be, let's say, we're gonna pass a border. Border should be 2, and also border should be dark color with a 30% opacity. I think we can just only pass a single variance here. And after that, the text should be dark color again with a 60% opacity. px should be 2.5, padding y should be 1.5, just to come in the ratio properties. Okay, y is coming at the bottom. Okay, cool. And then we're gonna make that rounded as md, and also hover text should be dark color, and hover border should be dark color. We're gonna pass that hover effect. So at that layer of the div, we can now align this all together. Put a class name flex item center, gap should be 2.5, and lg gap should be 5. So now this one will be side by side. As you see, if we go here, okay, rendering perfectly. And one thing we can do here, we can also pass the with full properties, so it will take the extract full. Is it taking? No, it's not taking. Why? Flex item center. What we can do? We can make it flex 1. Still not taking. Okay. I think did we pass that add to cart button? We have the class name, and we pass the class name at the button, so it should take, and it should take the full properties, right? I think which we missed here is that we didn't provide the with full flag here, so it's cannot take the full properties. Maybe if we go here, if we just remove the flex property, it's taking. If we make that flex, it cannot take. Gap is 2.5, lg gap is 5, which should be full. What's wrong here? And all other properties is can take. So the width is full, md width is 1.2, so that perfectly aligned. What happened to our add to cart button? Okay. I think we need to define that width properties maybe here. Yes, that was the problem, because it cannot take altogether the width here. So, it's just a problem can be subtle, but you need to know where it can arise. So feel free to go and debug time to time whenever you are facing the different properties. Now here there is one ratio here to passing the characteristic to get all the data variance, and then also to the compare and others. So right now what we can do here, we can create those properties. So to do that, after that add to cart, I'm gonna just make that one like that. We will create one more component here. In the component, I will make that product characteristics.tsx. You can make this small name if you want. So here After that add to cart button, so after finishing that div here, we can make that our product characteristics. So not the cart, and here we can pass all the product value, like the product should be our products. So the characteristics we can render right here. We're going to render, but before that we can also pass the other value, like the value which we are generating here, free shopping, compare, ask question. That's the simple things we can render also. So first we're gonna put a div here, then we're gonna put another div here, then our X, it should be border split. I think border, why is not providing that? Should be providing, so should be our X, and here it will be okay. I will just grab the icon. I think the icon which we use here, that is from the icon of, okay, I think we can just go with the border icon. No, not coming there. Okay, I will try the box icon. Let's see if we can pass any icon here. Okay, if we pass box, okay, box icon is right there. And after box icon, we can now pass the value here, which will be, let's say, a p tag, which will be compare, and that compare color, you know, just to pass this small scenario here. What is happening on the hover here, it's just getting a different color, right? So the same thing we will combine. So put a class name here, put a class name flex item center, gap should be 2, text should be small text, text should be black, hover, text should be red of 600, and also you're gonna pass that hover effect. Now what is gonna happen, it's gonna just grab this same scenario here. For the box icon, put a class name, width should be 5, height should be 5. So that's the same thing. I think that will be 4 times altogether. So 2, 3, 4. So that's the 4 times. And here at the top layer, we need to align some of the properties. Should be, let's say, flex, and flex should be wrap, and item center justify between, gap should be 2.5, and also border should be bottom, and border B should be gray of, let's say, 200. Padding Y should be 5, and minus margin top should be 2, just to keep up the ratio. So that's the compare color, and after compare color we can just make that ask questions. So let's say, okay, what's wrong? It would be this one, should be ask a question, and here we can just make that let's say file question, just to see how it gonna. You can change the icon from the icon properties. That doesn't have a big error prone. Here we can make that delivery and return. So we can make delivery, or we can make it as order. I think list ordered icon, and the last one, it should be our share. So here we will also pass our share icon. Okay, so that's the 4 properties we are having. If we go make it bigger, you see the 4 icon is just rendering perfectly well. And after this line div here, we're gonna render one more div here, then one more div, and here a p tag should be free shipping. In the free shipping, we're gonna say free shipping over order $1 of 120. So above that, you can grab the free shipping, otherwise you may not have the chance to grab the free shipping. So here first in the div here at the top layer, put a class name, which will be, let's say, flex. Flex should be a wrap, item center, and gap should be 5. So in that div, we're gonna make something like a border, and border should be, let's say, dark blue, and on that make it 20% opacity. Text should be center, and padding, I think padding, we're gonna provide it 3 padding. And after that, Uber, border should be dark blue, border should be, oh, not border, border should be dark blue. And also we're gonna pass the rounded MD and hover effects. Good. So in that p tag, it's going to be taking some classic class name. Text should be base, font should be semi bold, and text should be, let's say, dark color. And for the p tag over here, put a class name. Text should be, let's say, small text, and text should be gray of 500. So that's the one properties which we have created. Then I'm just gonna duplicate it one more time, because the same ratio properties it gonna come up. So here we're gonna make that as, instead of free shipping, it should be, let's say, flexible payment. And here we will pass some reasonable text. Here should be pay with multiple credit cards. Done. So right now we have 2 properties, and it's both looking perfect. If we just make it bigger, it's good ratio. Now here what is happening, once we are just defining that to be happen to be like the product characteristics, we are using the accordion, right? So to render that is pretty simple. You see how simply we can render. So to do that, let's go in our characteristic tab here. So here we're gonna render. I'm gonna make it again a smaller screen. So in here, as we are grabbing the product, we can just inline make that everything like we are grabbing our product, and in the product, from there, the product, it should be the type of product from Sanity. Now here, instead of the div, remember we already installed the accordion from us Clsx UI. So now we're gonna utilize and use that. Okay, I think I remove another good part. So instead of that, I need to, okay, what's wrong in my mouse? So you're gonna remove this one. So we're gonna use the accordion, and don't forget to import it from the UI accordion, otherwise it's gonna be a problem. So also we're gonna use that accordion item, and after that we're gonna pass that accordion trigger, why what's wrong, ACCORDION should be trigger. And I think, okay, I'm going to stop here. Then here I'm going to pass that product dot name, and here we're going to make that name as characteristics. And for this accordion also, the type should be single, and then I'm going to make it as a collapsible, and the item should be, let's say, value, and that should be item -1. Hit save. So we should be able to see something. You see the accordion, so it's collapsible. Once you click, you see how it's just hovering and pretty good defined. So right now, after that accordion trigger, we can pass that accordion item, right? Not item, I think the content we need to provide. In the content, we're gonna pass a p tag, which will be, let's say, brand. On the brand, we can pass a span tag where we're gonna generate our, let's say, for right now, did we have the brand? No, we didn't have the brand, so we're gonna pass the unknown. Later on we will now you know how you can inject the brand, right? So feel free to take a challenge to create that. So you're gonna pass the brand to your product. So let's pass the class name should be flex, item should be center, justify should be between. Oh, not that one. That class name should be happen to be for this p tag. And here class name flex should be column, and the gap should be 1. So to initially render, if we open, you see the brand. Okay, cool. And for the span tag over here, put a class name, font should be semi bold, and tracking should be white. So that's the properties, the way we're gonna render. So we're gonna have like 5 properties. So 2, 3, 4, 5. So now you can see we have 5 different value. So first it's gonna be brand, then we're gonna pass like collection properties, and we're gonna pass a dummy collection of 2024. Now you can create the collection also, you know the how to go that. So the type should be our product variant, and then stock should be, let's say, now here we're gonna render different way. If the product dot stock is available, then we're gonna render like say available, otherwise we're gonna render out of stock. Okay, and the last it's going to be our variant, and the variant it should be just not variant, or you can just make that product dot intro, or you can make that intro. That's up to us. Okay, right now as you see we can just pass that value. If we go and generate one, like if we go and make one product, I think you can check that one. If we click here, now we have particular value by which to generate with a single product screen, and you can see all the properties, and right now you see how it's working perfectly. So as you see we defined that a pretty good step. So now I think it will be good way to generate our search bar, and after the search bar to go and like structure our store.